Welcome to the Tattooed Truth Podcast with Anna Love, a space for embodied conversations for soul-led rebels. I'm your host, Anna Love, intuitive empowerment coach, subconscious healing guide, and no stranger to burning it all down to rise in truth. Here, we dive deep into identity, healing, personal power, and what it really takes to lead a soul-aligned life. You'll hear unfiltered insights, real stories, and live coaching sessions with bold callers ready to break free and embody their next level. This is your invitation to reclaim your voice, rewire your patterns, and rise fully expressed. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Tattooed Truth Podcast. Now, for most of my life, I believed that control was confidence. If I could hold it all together, plan perfectly, anticipate every possible outcome, then I'd be safe. But I'm here to tell you that control is just a costume that fear wears. It's protection disguised as power. So, what if your highest expression isn't the woman who can hold it all, but the one who knows when to let go? So let's jump into this episode. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. This is the podcast where we strip back the stories to reclaim our power. We tell the truth that sets us free. So, back when I was starting my company, Tiny Chefs, I thought that control would be the answer to everything. It made me feel strong, right? I was executing a new role. I wasn't just a kindergarten teacher. I was raising my daughters. I was managing a million moving parts. And I'll be honest with you, there was an addiction there for me. It was the addiction of multitasking. I used to talk about how great it was that I could multitask and how great I was at it. And I didn't realize that that was a fear. I feared that if I didn't do it all, if I didn't have all the balls in the air at the same time and being able to juggle them all, that I wasn't worthy or I wasn't strong. So I was addicted to being the one who could handle it all, right? But underneath all that was fear. There was a little bit of anxiety. And of course, for me, it turned into exhaustion, right? But I didn't realize any of this. And what I would do to create a feeling of ease, which really was just a numbing mechanism, was I would drink alcohol, right? I would avoid, I would numb, I would escape. And I want you to realize that if you are in this boat where you are trying to do it all and then you're tapping yourself on the back and patting yourself on the back, saying that you are so amazing because you've got it all together, but really you're overworking yourself, I want you to ask yourself, how do I really feel about this? Am I coming from a place of control being a trauma response? Okay, so that's what I didn't realize back then either. I thought it was just who I was, right? It was part of my personality to be a multitasker, to be able to, like, oh, I'm a type A person. So anyone can relate to this. But really, it was a trauma response for me. And over time, what happened is that I created my own cage, I created my own jail cell, one that prevented me from being present, from being in pleasure, from having peace. So I was the one in my own way because I thought that I needed to be this sort of way or this certain way to be valuable, to be at the top, right, of the food chain, basically. And when you're living in a place where trauma is running the show, you're probably not even aware of it, right? You're in what's called the survival way of being. And control to you, and at least control to me, felt like safety. And let me just tell you, when you are in a place where you have healed this wound, this trauma, that's the real freedom. Okay. You have the keys to open the jail cell, to open the cage, and you walk right on out. But until that point comes into your awareness and into your ability to even do that, you feel stuck. and you feel like you're on maybe a hamster wheel. You are on autopilot. I call it sleepwalking. So, what happens too, and this is where it gets a little bit dangerous, is when we continue on this path, we then start to feel a breakdown in our body or we have a breakdown in our relationships. For me, it was divorce followed by massive back pain where I couldn't even walk, like debilitating pain where it hurt to tie my shoe. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't do yoga. I couldn't play tennis. I was seeing every doctor under the sun, from an acupuncturist to getting plasma shots to orthopedics to chiropractors, 10 other different types of people in there, healers and energetics and all the things. There was no end. It just kept going. And I remember when one of the doctors said to me, like, look, this is just going to be 2 years. You can't do anything. And I was like, not, I'm not buying that. That doesn't feel right to me. But really what it was my internal system was, it had had enough. It was on overload and my body was shutting down. It was saying no. It was saying, look, if you're not going to take this seriously, I'm going to make it so that you have to take a look at, you can't walk, you can't tie your shoes. You have 3 young kids under the age of 6 home. And how does it feel for you to not be able to go do fun things with them and bounce up and down on a trampoline? Right. So I was forced to look at it, and I'm lucky I didn't get cancer. Right. I freaking had some pain in my back and pain in my knees and I couldn't walk, but I was able to reverse it by going within and noticing what I was doing, all of the habits that I was using to try to cope with the feelings of anxiety, with the feelings of overwhelm, with the stress of doing it all alone. And by the way, I had created this. I'm not saying anyone forced me into this, but I had created this lifestyle. And it wasn't the best lifestyle conducive for a life of harmony and peace and joy and presence and, yeah, and full connection. Okay. So that's also what's at stake, is that you're not able to really fully connect with the ones that you love or even with yourself when you're living outside of yourself, striving and trying to control. Okay. And really what we're doing is we're trying to self-soothe. We're trying to reverse the trauma with a fucking blindfold on. We don't know what we're doing. Right. So we're just out there taking stabs in the dark and self-medicating at the same time. A lot of us are. So really, what's important to look at is when we strip back all of the ways that we are being, it comes to a point where we're only faced with ourselves. And I remember doing these activities where I would just do eye gazing in the mirror. And I've talked about this on other podcast episodes, but I really had to get in touch with, who am I at my core? And do I even trust myself? Right. And it's that self trust that becomes apparent and becomes aware a little bit at a time. The more that you get familiar and comfortable speaking your truth and talking to your inner self, the you that's in there, and not listening to your ego voices that are going on all the time, when we are in touch with our intuition and our self, right? Like at the core, we are confident. We do have the clarity there. We do have the curiosity. We do have connectedness to all of our parts, instead of being taken down by the parts of us that deem our life to be unsafe. So there's so many different facets to this conversation. And I know that I just kind of fire hose y'all with a bunch of things here that may be sort of, in your mind unconnected, but they are all very much connected and interwoven into the tapestry of you and how you show up in your life. So when we are in that self trust and we're able to get in touch with that part of us, that's where the nervous system finally starts to feel some sort of relief. Okay. And remember, the body is talking to us. So if you have migraines all the time, if you have, your back pain, if you've got gut issues, if you've got tight shoulders, whatever it is, that is your body trying to wave a red flag and say, SOS, please listen to me. And when your body feels like it's, being paid attention to and it starts to feel safe, your inner guidance becomes that much clearer. And your nervous system is what's called regulated. You're able to breathe easier. You're able to feel parts of your body. You're able to actually talk to the feelings in your body to find out what's the message that they're trying to tell me. Okay. And your soul gets louder. And that's the name of the game. If you were to ask me, like, what's the purpose of what we're doing here on this planet? It's to really get in touch with your soul and to evolve in whatever direction it needs to evolve in, whatever the journey is that you're on is for that evolvement of soul and finding your true self, connecting with you as love, you as divinity, you as a divine being, you as God, and or love or joy, right? All of it is available to you once you find it under all those layers, right? All those protective layers. So whether you're controlling, that could just be one thing, right? I started talking in this episode about control, but maybe it's something different for you. So, what I'd like to talk about next is this theory of being turned on. And there's, a switch inside all of us. And when we are living with our lights fully fucking turned on, not on a dimmer switch down to low, not on a medium, but turned full blast up and on, that starts to guide us in the direction of what is it that we truly want. So if we were to have a cup and I were to say, hey, what's in your cup? What fulfills you? What brings you joy? What makes you happy? What makes you feel love at the what's, in there that you're doing for yourself for the highest best intention for you, right? If I were to ask you what's in your cup and how did it get there and how do we keep it full and replenished, would you know the answer? Do you have the cup filled with things that have nothing to do with what bring you joy and love? And if that's the answer, then I would say let's look at removing some of those things from the cup, finding that on switch, finding what turned you on, finding what it is that you actually desire. And you can find it. Like when I just said that, I literally felt it in my pussy, and I'll just say it. I'm just going to say the word because that's where I felt it. Okay. So you feel it where, it speaks to you from different places in your body. And as a woman, we're going to feel it in our pussy. Okay. If you're a man, you're not going to feel it there, but you're going to feel it somewhere else. And I want you to really focus in on when you are tapped into your true desire. It's not only, I'm not like even alluding that it's about sex. It's about a turn on. It's about being alive. It's about, feeling the sensations in your body and being motivated, being driven, being led, being inspired by that desire. And that's when you get into full alignment with yourself and you're living life full of zest. You're living life in flow. You're living life by your energy being at a high level, a high frequency. And we have this inner compass, and I like to say that it's our intuition, our gut instinct, but it's also that light, that desire. Okay, that's the compass. And we learn to trust our bodies. We learn to listen to our bodies because we are the ones that have the wisdom. It's not in, sure, there's information in books and there's, people that we are going to meet that have certain experiences that we don't, and we're drawn to them. Like, show me the way, tell me what you know. I want to go where you've been, right? Or I want to walk alongside of you and experience this with you. And that's all fantastic. And I'm also saying that the compass is inside of you. So the more frequent you can train yourself and get habitual about going inside to find the answers, that is going to direct you to maybe a person or a book or an experience. But the answers are right inside of you. You have the wisdom to show yourself. Okay. When you're living a life fully turned on and in your desire, you are letting your energy dictate and, there's no more control issues, right? The control to control goes away. The desire to control isn't there any longer. And we're listening to that inner compass and we're letting the feelings in our body. And yes, of course, we're using our brain to help us get to a place from place A to B, but it doesn't feel like we're forcing any longer. It doesn't feel like we're out of control, grasping, and it feels more like a flow. So I would love for you to reflect. All right. I've talked a lot and I'd love to know, where in your life are you gripping for control? And you'll know because it'll feel like a grip. It'll feel like if I don't do this, it means that I don't have control, that things are out of control. And I'm using the word control on purpose because it is all encompassing. When you are in it, that's all it feels like. I can't do this without losing something, or I have to do this in order to gain something. That's called gripping. Where are you doing that? And what might happen if you trusted your intuition more than, let's just say, your to do list, more than your agenda? Because what we're really wanting to do is lead through intention. Like, what is the highest for me today? What are the top three things that I need to get done today? Or if I get these three things done, my highest will be, moving forward in growth, right? Some sort of a movement forward rather than being stagnant. What do I need? And then make your agenda that way, make your to do list that way. Instead of putting 42 things on there and then feeling overwhelmed because you can only get to three of them. Okay. How about you just put three and then put the rest of them over to the side and let the universe handle that for you, right? Maybe doors will open or things will happen that you don't even have to do just because you let go of the control of, I have to do it all. I have to be the one to do it. Okay. Because I'm the only one who can do it here, right? That's how we get ourselves into these tizzies. It's a false reality, false perception. And it's time to wake up and notice how we are the one participating in this. So, really, I'd love for you to take into account those questions that I asked you. And here's another one for you. What would it feel like to live turned on instead of turned off by your own expectations? What would it feel like to live turned on with that light switch on, the dimmer all the way up, nice and bright? It's illuminated. You can see in front of you. You're not just going with blinders on, or you're not just driving your car in the middle of, a rainstorm or a snowstorm, and all you can see is 200 feet in front of you. Because that's fine too, but wouldn't we like to just be able to see everything with eyes wide open? And what would that feel like? What would it be like to live like that? Just check in with yourself. Good. And I'd love for you to start to create another way of being, telling yourself and sitting with yourself every day for at least 3 minutes that I am safe when I am being led that lights me up. I am safe when I am listening to my body. I am safe when I trust myself. And feel that ripple through your body. And then what does it feel like to just say the words and then let it sort of reverberate through your body, taking deep breaths in, feeling your energy expand out, strengthening that muscle that allows you to go inward, to trust, to believe, to love yourself, to have confidence. We're creating that self energy, that self mastery, being turned on by life again. Such a vibrant way of being. It's a vibe, it's a way to be. So, if this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it to your story, tag me on my Instagram, I am.theannalove. Tell me where you're learning to trust yourself again. And just remember that control is a survival mechanism, but trust is the creation. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Love you. Thanks for tuning in to the Tattooed Truth podcast. If this episode lit something up in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, leave a review, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a truth bomb. If you're craving deeper support, guided healing, or a space to reclaim your voice and power, check the show notes for ways to work with me. Remember, your truth is not too loud, too bold, or too much. It's exactly what this world needs. Keep showing up, stay wild, stay true. I'll see you next time.